the Aeon fund is doing well. Zero to Plex crossed 1 billion, and then more exciting for the finance nerds out there is that Pearl Abyss released their third quarter financials. And as you guys know, if you've been watching the stream for a while, that means that we get to find out some stuff about EVE financials and where EVE is going. So we're gonna actually start out with that today by having a quick look at the financials. Let me just hide the cheat sheet. Oh, by the way, yes, this yeah, I do love football for sure, or soccer as Americans call it. Before I hide the cheat sheet is available for download on you can find it pinned on my Twitter or on the Discord. Here's a link to our Discord channel. You can find it there. You can also find it on Reddit. So if you need help trading, then this is a great place to start. I'm gonna hide that right now. And then let's see if we can pull up this. Of course, as usual, I need to reset this. There we go. Cool. So you guys can see the presentation now. This is the and we'll just spend like 10 minutes on this max, right? This is if you're not into financials, don't run. Although if you're watching this channel, then you probably are. Q3 presentation. So 4 times a year we get an update from Pearl Abyss where they hold a presentation of an hour with just like 4 or 5 slides on the current financial state of Pearl Abyss, including CCP. Pearl Abyss is the controlling company of CCP. Pearl Abyss are Koreans, right? CCP are originally from Iceland. They bought them a few years ago, and Pearl Abyss is most famously the maker of Black Desert Online, and coming out soon they have, I think, Crimson Desert is their new IP that's coming out. Why were we looking forward to Q3 financials? Because one, it was the first full quarter of EVE back in China, so that's huge for them. And two, it's the launch of EVE Echoes. So I didn't know what to expect. I guess before we jump into the numbers, I expected EVE Echoes to be quite successful. From what I've heard, I haven't played it myself beyond like the first few clicks, and I expected EVE Online to have a fairly strong quarter based on resubmissions and resubscriptions, and based on the numbers that the war has been pulling in. So anyway, let's jump in here. So blah blah, right? This is the Q3 business highlights, and I'm gonna ignore Black Desert for the most part. We'll talk about it a little bit in a second here, but we'll focus on EVE. So overall, the operating revenue went down significantly, which was a surprise to me, having a quick look at this, because typically Black Desert is doing quite strongly, and then I expected EVE Echoes and EVE Online to have strong quarters. So operating revenue going down is a little bit of a surprise. What they're usually very, very tight-lipped about EVE. So you basically hinge everything on a sentence or two that they say, right? And so for EVE Online, what all they're saying is an increase in core users and China revenue. So very vague. China revenue increasing. Well, of course it did. It was the first quarter in China. Increase in core users to me means they had an increase in subscriptions from the core EVE users on Tranquility, so EVE Online and the rest of the world. Royal core users increased by 30% year to date. I don't know what they mean by Royal, but I'm guessing they mean premium. It's a translation error, so probably Omega. So Omega increased 30% from January. That's not a surprise. That's what I would expect. Anyway. Eve Echoes, an effort to enlarge user base. That's really not how I would frame a successful launch, but okay. They say they worked on improving user retention, and to me, if I translate that, that would mean that they've had serious issues retaining users. I know Eve Echoes hit 1 million players at some point for that that had signed up. Sorry, my voice is recovering still. But they definitely have not been able to retain that, right? There's no way they are those 1 million people are playing, as we will see on the next page. On the next page, we see operating revenue and operating profits for Pearl Abyss overall. So you can see they've had a bad quarter, right? The worst out of the last 5 quarters in terms of revenue. Operating profit was okay, but even operating profit margin here has gone down from 38 to 34. Net profits are up, so that can be special effects, etc. But it doesn't really concern us too much in terms of Eve. What concerns us is this right here, revenue by IP, and this is a big one that we always look forward to, right? So you can see that Black Desert revenue has just absolutely crashed from 111 to 96 billion in Korean currency. And EVE Online has gone from 18.9 to 21.3. So they've actually increased. That's EVE total, right? EVE IP. So EVE Online plus EVE Echoes. We know, though, that EVE Online had a good quarter. So it's a little bit to me. I'm wondering a little bit. Okay, where did all that Eve Echoes revenue go in? And it's the first quarter, so we don't really know how the revenue compares of the two games. But certainly it's not an explosion. But if you compare Q1 to Q2 to Q3, you see that we've gone from 14.3 billion to 21.3 billion. By the way, this is about 19 point something billion US dollars if you want to convert it to US dollars. 19 point something. But you can see as a proportion of revenues, it has gone up quite significantly. Eve has. So I think that's good for us as the Eve player base, because they, I'm sure investors and they themselves, they typically go into this saying, okay, Black Desert is their huge IP and Eve is this 15-year-old thing that they're continuing, but that they never know how long it's going to go. Not if they ask Hilmar, but if from a top level perspective. But this is very promising. If you look at revenue by region, you can see that their Asia revenue, which is Asia minus Korea, has gone up. Unsurprisingly, in terms of Eve alone, you would expect that because you had a first full quarter of Eve China going. And then, Europe has gone down a little bit, but that's proportionally, right? And revenue by platform, what I found interesting here is that we saw mobile overall increase by only 1%. So if you thought that, okay, we have 1 million Eve Echoes players, and we have sorry, I got a message. We got 1 million Eve Echoes players, supposedly, right, at one point, not anymore, and that's a completely new game entering the mix. You might have expected the mobile share to go up a little bit, but it certainly didn't. Black Desert also exists on mobile, right? So it's the bigger proportion of it, so it's difficult to discern. They didn't make any more comments on that. Let me catch up on chat real quick because I haven't been following. You haven't prepared a pivot table with KPI metrics? I have not. But yeah. Echoes is probably more played than EVE Online since it's easier accessible. Yeah, but apparently it's not making a lot of revenue. You'd expect video games to do well when everyone is locked in their homes. Yeah. Except Black Desert Online is not doing well. You have to say, typically for them, the third quarter isn't fantastic. Although if you look back at Q3 19 here, that quarter was certainly much better for Black Desert Online. It wasn't for EVE necessarily. What's EVE Echoes? Okay. Yeah, EVE. I mean, to me, I'm not gonna play EVE on a mobile. Hell no, hell no. But you know, it was hyped up in the beginning for a little bit, but I think it's I don't know. I'm not convinced it's going to it's going to be replacing EVE in terms of revenue, at least not in the coming year. It means that EVE won't just randomly X. No, it won't. So weird with the Black Desert tanking, sinking lower than pre-COVID. Must a cultural change in major markets? Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it develops next month, but yeah, next quarter. Cost on Echoes Omega is the same as EVE Online. If I remember correctly, it's a freemium game, in my opinion. Yeah, but so apparently they're just not making a lot of revenue on EVE Echoes, which I find surprising. So I guess a lot of people logged in, a lot of people tried it out. They said they had 1 million accounts signed up, but then apparently nobody spent money, or very few people spent money, because it's hard for me to think that that EVE Online revenue went down by a lot. So yeah, but we'll see. Hey Fonsui, you're unsurprised? Yeah. But yeah, EVE Online on mobile is just I mean, in my eyes it's just wrong, but you know. Yeah. I guess it's that MMOs are just niche nowadays. Yeah. Loyal user base though. Anyway, let me so this is, I'm not gonna go into this. This is operating expenses. You can check out here you know what developed over time. You can see that they paid less commissions this quarter. You know, whatever that means. I'm not that deep into the numbers to be able to say that without further analysis. But you know, overall their operating expenses went down. You know, it's hard to say. It's a weird quarter anyway with COVID going on. You can see they have a few less employees than they did last week. So last quarter, sorry. But this is interesting too. Q4 highlights. So Black Desert I don't really care about, but EVE IP Japan release for EVE Online and EVE Echoes. That's localization in Japan. And then constant user community care to enhance both profitability and revenue. It's funny they phrase it that way. It's so clumsy, right? Because I mean it's translated, but you know, you would in this place you would say something like you know, we want to strengthen the community to increase loyalty or whatever, but they just go straight to profitability and revenue. Like they don't even beat around the bush. This is an investor's presentation. So they just say, okay, we're gonna suck the most money out of them as possible. Yeah, they're working on new IP, but yeah, that's going apparently quite well. Crimson Desert, but we'll see what comes out of that. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. The appendix is just the detailed financials, and then we're done. So you know, always always a fun time to see that come out, to kind of get that this is the absolute hard truth on how the game is doing in terms of financials and how it's doing for Pearl Abyss, and in many ways this is much more important for the future of the game than any of the other developments or news out there, because in the end the game needs to make money, and Pearl Abyss needs to make money out of it. So yeah, always like to have a look at that.